Hi everybody, it's Sabrina. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. Today I plan on showing you guys some books I recently found at a few thrift stores I went to. I went to Value World and the Salvation Army. I'm going to show you some of the books that I found while I was there. I have made a thrift video before. If you guys watched that video, you know that I did find the first and the second book in the Hunger Games series. And I was really excited. At Value World, I did find the third book in the series, Mockingjay, as well. You can see I found it in pretty good condition. Hardback with the dust jacket still on it. No like rips or tears in the pages or anything like that. So I was really happy I managed to find the whole Hunger Games series at the thrift store without having to buy them brand new. So it took me a couple trips. I didn't find them all at the same place, but I found them all within maybe a couple weeks. So really great deal. I think this was $2 I paid for it. Since it was a hardback, they charged a little bit more for the hardbacks with the Value World I went to. But again, not bad at all, considering if I were to get the same book at Target or Amazon or Barnes & Noble, it would have been a lot more, probably $10 or more, probably between $10 to $15. So really happy with this find and really happy that I was able to eventually find the whole series. Another book I found at Value World was a Nicholas Sparks book. I don't really know much about this book by him in particular. It's called The Choice, but I have read quite a few Nicholas Sparks books in the past. The Notebook, A Walk to Remember. I do in general like a lot of his romance stories, and so I just figured, again, this book was 50 cents, figured that I would give it a try and see if it's any good. A lot of people read in high school for their, like English literature classes, which is kind of funny, like in hindsight, because in high school, a lot of people thought these books were boring, didn't want to read them, but there was a few of them I actually liked. One of the books I did find that I did read in the past in high school and I really enjoyed was The Outsiders, and it looks like it's in really good condition. But I really remember enjoying this book and the movie that was made based on the book when I was in high school. So it's been quite a while since I've read it. So I know the kind of general plot of the story, but I can't really remember a lot of the finer details, and there's a lot of events in the story that seem kind of fuzzy, so I thought it'd be fun to kind of reread it. And I do remember, like I said, I enjoyed it in the past, so if I enjoyed it in the past, there's a very good chance that I'll enjoy reading it again. And then a few books that I found that I had not read before in high school. First one was The Great Gatsby, which is probably surprising to a lot of people. I don't recall ever having to read this in high school. If I did, I probably Sparks noted it. I can't remember. I don't think I did. Normally I did read books that I was assigned, so I don't think that I would have done that, but I don't really remember reading it if it was assigned. So I don't think my school oftentimes did where you could choose which book you wanted to read, so I don't think I ever read The Great Gatsby, but I do know it's very popular and a lot of people really seem to actually enjoy The Great Gatsby. So, and it's really not very long. I mean, you feel like it's long when you're, a teenager in school, but compared to a lot of the books I read nowadays, a lot of the books I read nowadays are 400 or 500 pages. This, it looks like, is less than 200. So, figure I'd give it a try, so, kind of see if it's any good. And then the last, kind of classic book I found was To Kill a Mockingbird. Never read this one in the past either, but I recognized the name. I know it was a famous, book. It looks like, based on the description I'm reading about it, it looks like it is like a historical fiction type of novel, which I do tend to like, as a genre. And again, it was a big, kind of famous classic book. So for 50 cents, might as well give it a try. So this next book I found, I remember being really popular like back in like the 2000s or 2010-ish era. Maybe I could be wrong, but I remember being kind of older teens, I think, when a lot of people were reading this book. That book was The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I never read it, but I remember it being very popular back in the day, and since I found it again for, I think this one was 75 cents, but figured I would, see what all the hype was about. Okay. And then these next two books I found are two books in a series. It looks like there's 3 or 4 books in this series. I'm not really sure, to be honest. I'm not really familiar with this series. I've never heard of it before until I found it at the thrift store, and it kind of caught my eye. It looks like it's called the Kingmaker Chronicles, A Promise of Fire and Breath of Fire. So I don't really know anything about these books. You guys can let me know below in the comments if you've read them, or what you think of them if you have read them. But they caught my eye. They look to be in really good condition. They did catch my eye since they were a series, and I read on the book it says that it is a paranormal romance, and it looks like it's based on Greek mythology. So lots of things that I like. I like Greek mythology. I like romantasy. I did look it up on Goodreads. It looked like it had decent reviews for the most part. So again, never heard of it before, but I figured, it kind of hits all the things I like, so might as well, see if it's any good. And then the last book that I found was The 4-Hour Workweek. And this is kind of a self-help book that you'll see a lot of productivity YouTubers and stuff like that talk about. Normally not necessarily my favorite genre, but I have read Atomic Habits and things like that. But again, for 50 cents, I know it's a big book that people have talked about and have read. I figure even if I skim through it, read through it, find maybe even a few tips that are helpful, it would be worthwhile. Or if there's tips I can give to my family or friends, or anything like that. So those were all of the books that I found at the thrift store on my most recent visit. I found 9 books, and each of them ranged from 50 cents to $2. So that means I probably spent less than $10 for 9 books, which is really a steal when you think about the fact that if you buy a book brand new, most of the time it's $10 or more for one book, and I got 9 books for that same price, maybe even a little bit less. So really amazing deal. And honestly, I think when people think of buying books at the thrift store, they think of them not being in very good condition or quality, but most of the books that I've gotten look maybe just slightly used or almost brand new. So I cannot complain at all. I mean, and it varies so much, on the thrift store you go to and kind of what they have available that day. Because there are a lot of books that I did see that were very beat up, very dirty. But, you do find some hidden gems that are a book you wanted and that they happen to be in good condition. So definitely worthwhile looking, I think. Like I said, I found the whole Hunger Games series over time at different thrift stores. And really, if there's a book you eventually want to read, but you're not in a big rush to read it, the thrift store is a great way to kind of, build up a physical TBR or a physical library, especially if you already have other books you're currently reading, you already own them, you are reading a long series. Right now, I just recently started the Throne of Glass series, and so I know I'm going to be invested in that for a while, and so I'm not going to buy any brand new books, especially when I know that I might happen to find it at a thrift store for a fraction of the price, especially if I'm not going to be reading it right away. Now, if there's a book that you want to read immediately, you're super excited, it's a new release, or you heard about it and you want to read that as your next book, by all means, go ahead, you can buy it new. But like I said, I think this is a really good way to kind of, cut down on some of the costs associated with reading. Because if you buy all your books brand new, certainly over time, the price can definitely add up. So this is kind of a good workaround on kind of making reading a little bit more affordable of a hobby, especially, if you do kind of have a tight budget. So hopefully you guys found this video helpful. You guys can let me know what you think down below in the comments, if kind of what your experience has been finding books and buying books at the thrift store, or if you have read any of the books that I mentioned or talked about in this video. If you have any thoughts or opinions that you want to share with me, I would love to hear them. Like I said, especially for this, the Kingmaker Chronicles series. If any of you guys have read this, I'm really curious. Like I said, just because I had never heard of it before. So I'd love to hear anybody's thoughts on any of these books. That's really it for today. Thank you so much for watching this video, and hopefully we will see you again in another one. Bye.